presidency and the Quorum of the 12 Apostles are covering a sexual predator that lives in your ward. His name is Joseph Bishop. He was the MTC president in 1984 when he raped me in the basement of the MTC. If you're not...
This was a scene that Mike Norton on his New Name Noah channel filmed about September, or at least aired about September of 2018 last year, where McKenna Denson accused Joseph Bishop of raping her underneath the MTC as a mission president, a fact which she stated was covered up by the LDS Church. Now Mike Norton is outing her for being a completely dishonest person.
That's about it. Literally for the last week, as more and more evidence is coming forward and I'm reading this, I have been absolutely seething with anger over having this person in our community. People have donated thousands and thousands, probably tens of thousands of dollars to her. I personally have given McKenna Denson at least $300 at least, and I have allowed her to stay in my house in our guest room. I have donated dozens and dozens, possibly hundreds of hours of my time helping her out with videos and editing, and it makes me want to throw up. This just goes to show that you don't have to be in a cult to be duped by somebody with a little charisma that's bound and determined to rip you off. I believe that McKenna Denson is to the ex-Mormon community what she's like. She's the Mark Hoffman. If Mark Hoffman and Paul H. Dunn got together and had a baby, because same-sex marriage was legal, and that baby grew into an adult, I believe it would be McKenna Denson. She is, in my opinion, the absolute lowest of the low. She, in my opinion, and based on reports from the police, she literally took money from multiple people on multiple occasions for cancer treatment. She told me last night that she didn't take any money from anybody. That's what she's claiming, but she did tell me last night that after she found out she didn't have cancer, she didn't tell everybody that she didn't have cancer. She told another person she liked the love and attention that was being poured upon her by friends and family with the whole cancer diagnosis, and she didn't want that to end. June, you, my friend, can rot in hell. I don't believe in hell, but if there was a hell, pretty sure you'd go there. So that's it. Anybody has any questions? You've got my phone number. If you don't, well, Google it. It ain't hard to find. Thanks. Have a nice day. And by the way, based on her MO, I'm about 90% sure that sometime in the next few months, McKenna Denson is going to make some wild allegations about me and anybody else that might support the fact that she's a pathological lying piece of shit.
So, though Mike Norton has discovered huge evidence that McKenna Denson is extremely dishonest and has been fraudulent in multiple stories that she has used to bring attention to herself and profit financially, the LDS Church has got to love what he's doing in exposing her, since it discredits a person who has got up and received, through Mike especially, a lot of attention, which helped boost her into the limelight, which she enjoyed later on Facebook, etc., as a social justice warrior against the church and its pedophilia and its institutionalized practice of covering up for priesthood pedophilia, just as the Roman Catholic Church sets the example for as the mother of harlots. So, just as I pointed out in my October expose of McKenna called My Revealing Encounter with McKenna Denson Today Suggests Controlled Opposition in Anti-Mormonism, I want to reiterate today that a bad apple like McKenna doesn't authentically discredit the effort to actually expose the fact that the Mormon Church does cover up its priesthood pedophilia. It's rampant priesthood pedophilia, especially when CES, meaning Church Educational Systems employees, are involved. So, as much as the church loves to use opportunities like this to discredit the entire movement of sharing and exposing its institutionalized practice of pedophilia and pedophilia cover-up, the fact still remains that this is what the church does. So let's not let ourselves get caught up in what the church would like to make of this, although I haven't seen the church capitalize on this yet with their own statement. Perhaps they maybe feel they don't not even need to. They can just sit back and enjoy what Mike Norton is doing to completely obliterate McKenna's reputation, which of course would help to discredit any allegations she made against the church's cover-up of Joseph Bishop molesting her, even though she stated it was rape on stage there at the podium, and that contradicted what they had obtained as far as a confession goes. She also sounded pretty weird when she said, "My name is McKenna Denson, and I approve this message." To me, that sounded like some mind programming gone awry. And perhaps she's got some alters and doesn't even know what she's doing. Maybe we don't need to jump on a bandwagon of complete hate of her. She was extremely rude to me on Facebook and tried to smear me when I asked her just for an interview to help bring the attention that she had gained into a video that I did that was a lot more detailed regarding the institutional practices of the church in human trafficking. Another thing to remember is when the church tries to discredit someone completely by finding fault with one thing that they do and then extrapolating that into the argument that everything that they say is a lie, as they have done, as church apologists have done over and over again in their smear tactics, we need to remember that that's just not the way things work. However, it is the way things work when we're looking at the church, and that's because the church is supposed to be guided by an all-knowing and unchanging perfect God. So if Jesus gets busted once lying, then that's a big problem for the church, because according to the Book of Mormon, he would cease to be God. Now, the church wants to use that same logic or that same argument against those who expose the church for its dishonesty, and that's just not the case, because we don't claim to be God and to be perfect, and we don't disintegrate based on violation of our own self-definition of virtues, as God does. LDS, JW, and Catholic Satanic Ritualistic Pedophilia in the Luciferian Masonic Network. That's a page on Mormon Truth Video's Gospel Topics Hub in which I discuss that subject, which McKenna Denson was claiming to have been a victim of. And I just want to read a little something from there. Say, why is it that year after year we have the same pattern of cover-up by not just the many churches and other offending charitable organizations of this massive proliferation of pedophile priests, elders, and youth leaders, but the cooperation of police, judges, federal and local agencies, and other alleged public servants? Can the fact that the evidence supporting the victims is constantly being swept under the rug all be attributed to the massive wealth held by the Roman Catholic, the Watchtower, and the LDS churches, and the use of bribery, blackmail, and church affiliation of public officials? Or is there an additional, less visible interconnecting network based in the occult linking these organizations and others, which is responsible for such effective silencing of the victims and causing it to appear as though we just have a few bad apples who fooled gatekeepers and policies meant to protect the vulnerable from sexual predators and satanic ritual abuse, which they continue to suffer? Here's a video that I just mentioned that I created not that long ago, maybe 2 months ago. LDS, JW, RCC, pedophilia, Satanism, SRA, etc. Not sure what the rest of the title is. And so that's embedded in the web page. Continuing, the fact of the matter is that the odds of such phenomenal success in hiding and protecting such predators who flourish in the above-mentioned religious and charitable organizations, along with others such as the Boy Scouts, and within Freemasonry itself, and other organizations in which Masons, Jesuits, and other occultists hold positions of power, is beyond any reasonable likelihood of being attributable to chance or happenstance. And though media hounds and other authority figures would cry persecution and conspiracy theory to discredit those people who bother to research the facts and present them, the facts are what they are, and it is incumbent upon us to make the effort to investigate them despite the use of such techniques employed to discourage us in the pursuit of truth and justice regarding the rampant human trafficking for sexual slavery and satanic ritual sacrifices, with the many missing persons that are used up by our leading politicians and corrupt public and religious leaders in the network. In this page and others, including the subjects of MK, mind control, and secret combinations, found in the Mormon Truth Videos Gospel Topics Hub website, the seeker of truth, and especially Mormon truth, will find ample resources to begin to understand how different a world we live in than they told us at church. So, I think I'd like to advertise this particular page here on my website, Mormon Truth Videos Gospel Topics Hub, again entitled LDS, JW, and Catholic Satanic Ritualistic Pedophilia in the Luciferian Masonic Network. Just because McKenna Denson is a dishonest person or has an altar that is doing very dishonest things doesn't mean that the LDS Church doesn't have a pattern of satanic ritual abuse occurring by priesthood leaders and young women's leaders as well, according to Bishop Glenn Pace of the presiding bishopric, who issued the memo to the Strengthening Church Members Committee long ago, detailing the fact that Satanism was rampant in the Wasatch Front, and apparently the discernment powers of the brethren who interview these folks, including bishops and stake presidents and a patriarch named, and members of the Tabernacle Choir, along with young women's and young men's leaders, seem to be dormant and worthless when they needed this power. And my contention is because this goes to the top, where Russell Nelson is being asked to testify regarding his own daughter and son-in-law in the pedophile rings in Bountiful, where some say he used to be in charge, and he just is trying as hard as he can to avoid being deposed about this information and this case. The church's pattern of covering up for priesthood pedophilia and tailoring all phone calls to church attorneys the objective of protecting the church, its name, and all liability, rather than helping or protecting the victims, is demonstrated in this particular document, highlighting situations dealt with by Curtin and McConkie, the law firm to which these hotline calls are routed when a bishop encounters concerns voiced regarding sexual molestation by church members who have callings and so forth with youth usually. So right here we've got Curtin and McConkie documents showing what they're really concerned about here in particular cases. And this was on Mormon WikiLeaks. And time after time, what we see is that the pattern is to protect the church and its name rather than care for the victims, because the church is all about covering up its own priesthood's sins. Has nothing. The church has no interest in the victims. That's what the evidence tells us. And when we see what the guidelines are for the bishops who run into this sort of situation, it's borne out again. So anyway, don't want to belabor the point. I'll be doing more videos on this. I'm hoping to interview a lawyer who's brought over 150 cases against the LDS Church, and I believe many against the Catholic Church as well, and has encountered the church's attitude and tactics, which are absolutely criminal in nature. And so I'm hoping to do that soon. I had the pleasure and opportunity just a few days ago of meeting with some friends that I had not seen in about 15 years, who have experienced firsthand some of the abuses of the priesthood and the cover up of the church in the pedophilia, and have also grown up in the church and were aware of satanic sacrifices being conducted, human sacrifice in Utah and Idaho by Mormons who are part of that Luciferian network and the satanic, the generational satanic families who are so core to this phenomenon in the church, or in other words, to what the church is really about, because this is who really runs the LDS Church, the Catholic Church, the JWs, and basically all of the Abrahamic cults. So I'd like to invite everyone to do a little deeper digging, come over to this webpage, watch some of the videos, and find out what's really going on and who's running the show in religion in the United States and worldwide, and how these pedophile networks are interconnected. And next time you have someone try to discredit the entire movement of exposing this sort of networked pedophilia in the churches, as will inevitably occur when LDS faithful find out that McKenna Denson is being exposed for being a completely dishonest person, let's make sure we are armed with the truth and not allow this to be an opportunity for the church to clear its name, when its name should be exposed as absolutely the opposite of everything that they claim to be. That's what the facts tell us. Don't be fooled by the shit show over McKenna Denson.